In the previous episode, Mona, the queen bee with the charm powers, meets the only boy who can resist her, a religious student training to run a temple, and she tries harder to win him over, and he fights against falling for her. They both start developing real feelings for each other. The episode starts in art class where everyone fawns over Mona as usual. When the teacher tells them to draw their seat neighbors, Mona gets super excited. Finally, a reason to make Kuroiwa look at her. She tries all sorts of fancy poses and asks Kuroiwa what he thinks. He just starts muttering his clear mind, clear spirit thing to stay focused, which Mona takes as him giving her dirty looks. He tells her to pose normally, but she teases him, saying she'll do any pose he wants, except nude ones, calling him a bad boy. When this joke falls flat, he doesn't even get it. She gets annoyed, though their classmates try to make her feel better by laughing. Mona's feeling pretty confident, thinking she's got him cornered with this assignment. She's already planning to celebrate with tea later, remembering how she caught him looking at her before. While she's trying to find the perfect pose, Kuroiwa can't help noticing she's pretty, but keeps reminding himself about his temple duties. She finally picks a pose she likes, and while their classmates are cheering about how model-like she looks, Kuroiwa just trying to stay calm, telling himself this is just part of his training. He just mumbles, "Whatever, that'll do," and starts drawing. Mona's disappointed again. How can he be so cool when she's literally posing just for him? She thought for sure this would work. Mona spots watching them, though she quickly looks away. The same girl who was spying on them before. While Mona's thinking about how seriously Kuroiwa taking his drawing, Haruno keeps stealing glances at them until her own partner reminds her to focus on their work. The mood shifts when Kuroiwa tells Mona he's drawing her neck. He has to look carefully to get the details right, and when he does, he can't help noticing how delicate it is. Meanwhile, Mona's getting flustered. She wants his attention, sure, but his intense artist stare is too much. She's burning up under his gaze and suddenly bolts from the room, mumbling something about not feeling well. In the bathroom, she's barely holding it together, frustration and confusion written all over her face. It doesn't feel fair when she flirts with him. He won't even look at her. But now suddenly he can't stop staring. Why can't he always look at her like that, she thinks, annoyed and overwhelmed. Back in class, Kuroiwa's friends are checking out his unfinished drawing, and they're totally impressed. When they tease him about studying Mona so carefully, he panics and starts his clear mind, clear spirit chant again, making his friends feel sorry for him. Later in the library, they both reach for the same book. Mona tries playing it cool, suggesting it must be fate, and asking to study together. But Kuroiwa practically gives her the book and runs away, though he can't stop thinking about how cute she is and how soft her hand feels. Watching him go, Mona decides to play the long game. But just then, who does she catch spying again? Yep, Haruno. What's her deal anyway? At the library, Mona slides into the seat next to Kuroiwa, thinking she's smooth with her study buddy plan. When she innocently asks to turn the page, he practically runs away, saying he'll find something else to read. That's when she catches Haruno spying yet again. Mona's brain starts connecting the dots. Maybe it's not her Haruno's watching. Maybe it's Kuroiwa. The thought sends her into a panic spiral. Another girl crushing on Kuroiwa, and a quiet bookworm at that? Her competitive spirit kicks into high gear. She can't risk taking things slow anymore. If Kuroiwa likes the intellectual type, Mona's ready to play the part. She transforms herself, showing up with glasses and a sophisticated teacup. When Kuroiwa's face turns red at the sight, she thinks she's finally found his weakness. Even her classmates are impressed by this new look. Getting bold, Mona tries some playful footsie under the table. When she finally musters the courage to ask what he thinks of her, Kuroiwa just points out her foot's hitting him and makes his escape. Frustrated, Mona starts following Haruno around, looking for any flaw to ease her mind. Instead, she discovers the girl's practically perfect, voluntarily watering flowers, cleaning blackboards when it's not her turn, keeping everything neat and tidy. It's infuriating how good she is. The changing room delivers the final blow to Mona's hopes. Not only does Haruno have a perfect figure, but she's genuinely modest about it, getting flustered when other girls compliment her. Mona's left seething. How is she supposed to compete with someone who's got everything she doesn't? Setting aside her usual confident vibe, Mona's actually getting worried, looking at how nice and sweet Haruno is. She can't help thinking she might lose Kuroiwa if he's into that type. Her usual charm tactics clearly aren't cutting it. The irony hits her when a classmate brings her a book they'd discussed, and she casually drops a "thank you, love you." The guy's practically floating on air from her words, but it makes Mona realize she's never been able to talk to Kuroiwa that naturally. That leads to her next brilliant plan at the rooftop. She times it perfectly, letting the wind carry her handkerchief right to Kuroiwa. When he catches it, she plays it cool, saying she's just taking a break too. She tries to recreate the casual magic from earlier, wanting to tell him she loves how helpful he is, but the words get stuck in her throat. Why is it so hard to say to him what she says to others without thinking? Mother Nature has other plans, though. The wind picks up, turning her romantic moment into a Marilyn Monroe situation. When she catches Kuroiwa staring, she calls him a lek, though he insists he didn't see anything. Mortified, she makes a quick exit, thinking about how Haruno's winning this invisible competition. During the school festival committee elections, Mona's watching Kuroiwa draw lots while having her own internal crisis. It's been a month since he transferred, and her supposedly irresistible charm still hasn't worked on him. The universe seems to have a sense of humor because guess who ends up as representatives? Haruno as the lead and Mona as her assistant. When Haruno says she's looking forward to working together, Mona can't help feeling like the universe is playing some cosmic joke on her. The festival planning session takes an interesting turn when Haruno starts sketching ideas. Maid cafe, play, haunted house. When she asks about Mona's middle school festival experience, Mona recalls her not-so-glamorous costume cafe days, where she couldn't even show off her charm because her face was completely covered. While Mona's watching Haruno blush and plan, she's still trying to figure her out. In her head, they're stuck in this weird love triangle, but Haruno seems weirdly happy about it. When Mona's pencil runs out of lead, Haruno offers her, but then frantically hides her phone when Mona tries to return it. Mona hands Haruno her lead, but something feels off. Haruno looks tense, clutching her phone like her life depends on it, and blurts out that Mona can't see it. That only makes Mona more curious, and she steps closer, determined to find out what's going on. Haruno panics and takes off down the hallway. Mona doesn't think twice before chasing after her, demanding to know what's on the phone. Haruno yells back that Mona will hate her if she finds out. Mona brushes it off, saying there's no way she'd hate her unless it's about Medaka. That stops Haruno dead in her tracks. She whips her head around to look at Mona, completely shocked, and the sudden movement throws her off balance. She stumbles and falls to the floor. Mona tries to stop but ends up tripping and falling right on top of her. Haruno's phone slips from her hand and lands nearby. Mona grabs it before Haruno can, her eyes widening when she sees the screen full of pictures of herself. Haruno freezes, her face bright red, stammering as she tries to explain, but Mona just stays calm and tells her she's not angry at all. Haruno hesitates before admitting that she's been a fan of Mona ever since the entrance ceremony. She says Mona is like the sun, someone who makes everyone around her smile and feel happy. Haruno nervously admits that she secretly takes pictures of Mona so she can look at her anytime, explaining that she only snapped about 300 photos. Mona, however, isn't angry. Instead, she falls deep into thought, piecing together things. She finally realizes that all this time, Haruno wasn't looking at Kuroiwa. She was looking at her. Haruno shyly adds that Mona is also her phone's lock screen, and that she wanted to change it before Mona noticed, thinking it might weird her out. But her attempt to hide it only makes Mona more suspicious. Feeling a pang of guilt, Mona gives Haruno a big hug and apologizes. However, she quickly remembers what she said earlier about staying away from her Medaka and tries to clarify. She tells Haruno that she means her Medaka fish and warns her not to get the wrong idea. Haruno smiles brightly and reassures her that she understands, which puts Mona at ease, at least for a moment. But then Haruno says that she knows Mona meets Kuroiwa, not the fish. Mona insists she's talking about the fish, but Haruno casually brushes it off, claiming she's noticed Mona acting strangely ever since Kuroiwa transferred to their school. Frustrated, Mona yells that it's the fish, damn it! Haruno, unfazed, casually mentions that she saw the time Mona wore Kuroiwa's gym shirt. Shocked, Mona asks if Haruno really saw that too. Flustered, she tries to explain, insisting she was talking about the Japanese rice fish all along. But Haruno continues, reminding Mona about the time she secretly snapped her picture in the library. She says she noticed something different about Mona that day, a look in her eyes like she saw the world in a whole new way. And that's when Haruno concludes that Mona has a crush on Kuroiwa. Before Mona can interrupt, Haruno cheerfully announces that she'll be rooting for her and fully supports her quest to find love. Mona, growing increasingly irritated, demands to know if Haruno is even listening to her. Haruno thanks Mona, saying she's now an even bigger fan of hers. That's the last straw for Mona, who shouts in pure frustration, begging Haruno to listen to her.